Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you to those of you who recently joined me. Even if you just have a little bit of opening to me, that's still very appreciated as I was going through a hard time. So today I'm making another video to try to help Zelenskyy and Ukraine, as I was talking about before. So if you're paying attention to the news, it should be obvious to you by now that Vladimir Putin has no intention to stop the war and for any serious peace talks. He does not want to stop the war. He wants to keep going and basically try to take all of Ukraine. So if you're paying attention to the news, that should be obvious by now that he's not someone you can just negotiate with. So as I was saying, he and his administration can only be stopped by force from the democracies of the world together in some kind of alliance. And right now, this alliance is weakened because of Donald Trump and his administration. And basically their lack of, awareness of what's actually going on and siding with basically the wrong side and easily swayed. So because their minds are too aligned with Putin's, they're basically not making enough efforts to ally with the European alliance effectively to stop him. And that's what it takes. It requires like a strong alliance to stop Putin, because right now he's basically exploiting the weakness of Donald Trump's administration. There's a new interview released recently today with 60 Minutes, between Zelenskyy and 60 Minutes, which I'll link below. I highly recommend you to watch that. It is a pretty good update on the situation right now that you don't get to see. Like, people are very cut off from what's actually happening there. Like, people are constantly being killed. And it's not a two-sided war, it's one-sided. Putin is the aggressor. So, if you're still not clear on that, like, it just means that your mind is too aligned with his ideology. That's it. Like, if it should be crystal clear who's the aggressor and who's the victim here. And so again, I want to reiterate that Zelenskyy and his people are fighting for all of us, for everyone that believes in the values of democracy, like true democracies. I'm not talking about like fake democracies where, you pretend like you have some kind of democracy, but you're not actually, doing that. So if you care about justice, democracies, then you would be on the side of Ukraine and Zelenskyy. Now, I understand, like, ordinary citizens, like, it's very hard to do very much, but you still have a lot of power than you might right now think to influence, like, the people around you. But at this point, I think it's very important for me now to approach certain people who have media influence to try to get them to say more about this war. So that's what I plan to do after making this video. And if you are someone who has some kind of media influence, whether you're a spiritual teacher or political commentator, you have access to some audience, I highly urge you to use that platform to help Zelenskyy and his people. Because they're not just fighting for themselves, they're fighting for like all of the democracies. Because Putin is not the kind of person that's going to stop at Ukraine. He wants to keep going, like, and that set of, not just Putin but his team. So even if Putin passes on, I believe that this set of ideology is still going to manifest in this world, so long as they're not stopped by force. That's my analysis of the situation, and I'm not the only person speaking of this war like this. There are a few individuals now starting to talk about it as World War III, or the beginning of World War III. And, like, it's not, like, that important how we label this. It's just that this is, like, pretty much now a global war, because it's one ideology versus another. And they do not match up. Like, they cannot agree, basically. So that's why I was saying it's a spiritual war and ideological war that has to be fought. Or, well, it doesn't have to be, but I'm saying it needs to be stopped by force. Because the aggressor is not going to stop on their own. They're not stopping through some kind of negotiation tactic. And so, anyways, if you have some kind of media influence, now is the moment to do something, say something. Because people are constantly dying. Like, are you okay with that? Are you okay with innocent people just dying like this? Being killed? While you get to, run scot-free, basically. You and I. So anyways, Zelenskyy talks about what he needs. And I know what he needs. It's really just, collective pressure from all over the world to, make take military actions and sanctions, economic sanctions on Russia, like all the means possible to stop Putin. Like, it's not that complicated to stop him. It's just a will. It's a matter of will, right? If people don't have the will to do it, then yeah, this war's just gonna keep going, like, for who knows how long. Because Ukrainians are not gonna stop fighting them. They have already, made up their mind, and as well as some of the nearby countries, they've already made up their minds. They're not gonna stop resisting him. So the longer this war drags on, the more lives are going to be lost. This is a very clear mathematical equation, you could say. So to me, this is the number one issue of the day. The fact that people are just constantly dying. This should be like the top of the list of political issues. But this is not really the top of the list in like your newspaper, or sorry, news channels, as far as I can see. It gets talked about like sort of almost like as a second thought or something. So yeah, I'm still watching Zelenskyy talk about what's happening there, and it's just everyday tragedy. And if you have some other ideas about what people can do, feel free to share with me. I have limited media influence, so that's why I am encouraging the people who have more influence to talk about this, because I can only reach so many people through my channel, and you guys block me out of your places, so I can't even talk about it in your spiritual groups. But this is a very important issue. The suffering is not like it's gonna affect the rest of the world at some point. Like at some point, you're gonna know exactly what happened there. And so now is the time to do something. Like, if you don't have media influence, then you can do what I do, like raise flags. Like, I raise flags in my car, and I think that does boost morale and awareness on this. And, pressuring your political representatives to speak up, that kind of thing. And like I said, pressure your favorite YouTubers and people who have media influence. That's another way. Because people that have a lot of, let's say, YouTube viewers, they have a lot of influence. They're not that different than your politicians. In fact, they might even have more influence than your politicians because of their viewership. Because not many people actually follow specific politicians, oftentimes. A lot of times people pay more attention to, like, their favorite channels, for example. So yeah, and I'm going to try to reach out to more important individuals as well and see how that goes. Of course, it's tricky for me to do that because most people just probably think I'm crazy, So there's a barrier there, but it's come to a point where I don't think I have much of a choice because I don't see a lot of people, really saying very much besides Zelenskyy, really. And I really think this needs to be more in the forefront.